You've probably heard someone say it, right? Oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. It's a phrase that seems to be absolutely everywhere these days. And what's really hiding behind that statement is this massive, kind of quiet shift in how we as humans search for meaning. So let's dive in. Let's really explore this spiritual shift and try to figure out what it all means in the 21st century.
And hey, if you've ever felt that way yourself, you are in very, very good company. That feeling, it's really at the heart of a huge cultural movement. It's a move away from the traditional organized institutions and a pivot towards a much more personal quest for something bigger. So, what are we really talking about here? Well, when you boil it all down, modern spirituality is really about looking inward. It's this path that puts your own personal experience, your own psychological growth, front and center. And it often exists completely separate from the rules and doctrines of organized religion. Think of it this way. It's less about following a map that someone else drew for you, and a lot more about drawing your own. And make no mistake, this isn't just some small, passing trend. It's really a revolution in how people are tackling life's biggest questions. This personal quest for meaning is absolutely taking center stage. The scale of the shift is just staggering. I mean, get this, a poll way back in 2005 found that nearly a quarter, 24%, of the US population identified this way. Can you even imagine what that number is today? We're talking millions upon millions of people all forging their own spiritual path. Okay, so if it's not traditional religion, what's the philosophy that underpins this new spirituality for so many people? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is this pretty radical new worldview. This idea was captured so perfectly in the hugely influential book, The Celestine Prophecy. It basically proposes this fundamental shift in how we see everything. The world isn't just a collection of, dead material objects. Nope. It's a living, breathing, interconnected web of dynamic energy. And this isn't some passive universe we're just floating through. The core idea here is that our own consciousness, what we choose to focus on, where we direct our attention, can actually influence these energy fields. It's a really dynamic, participatory model of reality. So to kind of wrap this idea up, this worldview sees everything, and I mean everything, as a field of sacred energy. It suggests we can literally project our own energy just by focusing our attention. You've probably heard that saying, where attention goes, energy flows, right? Well, that's it. And the ultimate goal is to tap into this universal energy, which believers say can lead to these incredible feelings of love, security, and even euphoria. Now, all this talk about energy and consciousness can feel a little, abstract. So let's look at a really fascinating case study to see how these ideas actually play out in the real world. Let's talk about the concept of indigo children. So what are indigo children? Well, it's a new age idea that describes a whole generation of kids who are supposedly born with these unique, special, and sometimes even supernatural gifts. You might have also heard them called star children or crystal children. Now, this whole idea is, to put it lightly, highly contested. On one hand, proponents claim these children are literally the next step in human evolution, that they have amazing abilities like telepathy. But on the other hand, critics are quick to point out that there is zero scientific evidence. They argue the traits are so vague they could apply to pretty much anyone. That's a psychological thing called the Forer effect. And there's also a really serious concern that this label can stop kids from getting a proper medical diagnosis for very real conditions. So how in the world did we get here? This massive shift from a world of established religious rules to one of personal energy fields, it definitely didn't happen overnight. To really get it, we need to take a quick little trip back through history. And right here, you could see the whole change in action. Spirituality has moved from being this communal, shared tradition, often centered around a single teacher or an institution, to something that is deeply personal, focused entirely on the individual's own inner world. Even the word spirituality itself has had this fascinating evolution. Back in the 5th century, it literally meant being animated by God. Fast forward to the 13th century, and it shifted to mean the realm of the inner life. But the really big break happened after World War II. That's when the terms started to become more and more separate from organized religion, which led directly to the rise of that spiritual but not religious identity we see everywhere today. Of course, this shift didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was built on the ideas of some major philosophical movements. You had the transcendentalists like Emerson, who were all about personal intuition over doctrine. Then theosophy came along and created this fascination with the secret wisdom of Eastern religions, and Neo Vedanta introduced the West to universalism.
this idea that maybe all religions hold a little piece of the truth. So, all of that brings us to today, the modern conclusion of this really long, winding journey. Where does all this leave us right now?
Ultimately, I think the most important thing to remember is this. Whether it's through organized religion or a deeply personal spiritual quest, the impulse behind it is exactly the same. It's that timeless human search for meaning, for connection, for trying to figure out our place in the cosmos. The paths might look completely different, but the destination we're all searching for is shared. And that leaves us with a very modern challenge, doesn't it? In a world that's gone from having a few well-paved religious highways to this vast wilderness of infinite individual paths, the question for each and every one of us becomes, how do we find our own? Something to think about.